You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of ZenTek Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from ZenTek Consultants. I am Jim, your entertaining and fun host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco. And who said you're fun?
Listen, compared to you, dude, you're like talking to a burlap sack some days. Come on. And that's why I have to liven everything up with the engineering joke of the week. Okay, you ready for this one, Rocco?
I'm ready.
Here we go. So I'm sure, are you familiar with the engineer's worldview? Have you ever heard of this?
No.
All right. So, you know the old saw, they say that, to an optimist, the glass is always half full. And to a pessimist, the glass is always half empty. And to an engineer, the glass has a factor of safety equal to 2.0. See? So there you go. Huh? Awful engineering jokes. I keep going deeper and deeper down that hole every time.
They just keep getting worse.
And that's the whole plan. Eventually, you're just going to quit. That's just going to give me all the money from the business and quit just so you don't have to hear these jokes anymore. That's my plan. So, all right, folks. So we have a special guest on the show today. David Mills is here. He is one of our technology specialists here at ZenTek, and he's agreed to join us on the show. Let's be honest, it's not that we really gave him a choice. This is what he's getting paid to do today. But we like to maintain the illusion of free will anyway. So Dave, thank you actually for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. So, Dave handles a bunch of different tech solutions for us here at ZenTek, but we asked him to be on the show today to talk specifically about Procore. And really how Procore works in a practical field usage scenario, I guess. But before we get into the topic for today, let's let you guys find out a little bit about Dave. So, Dave, why don't you tell folks about your background and what very bad life choices landed you working for Rocco and I?
So, I've been within the construction industry for nearly a decade now, and it's a very strong love-hate relationship. Definitely when I start hearing bad engineering jokes on that second part of that.
That's on the hate side. Understood. It's meant to be.
And I've kind of worked everywhere from, I started off as an intern. I was working through college within construction, and, my degree is also within construction management and engineering. Kind of worked my way up several positions, everything from, junior estimator and estimator. I was in the field for a little bit, utilizing, Procore, which is what we're going to be talking about, and kind of went to an owner's rep position as well. So I've kind of been all around the construction world, and especially in a lot of roles.
Okay. So there you go. And then, he wound up being here. So it's just been a downhill slide ever since he met us. So, all right. So let's get into some Procore stuff here. Look, I'm sure that most of our listeners know about Procore, right? At least at a basic level as a construction management system. But it does a lot more than just handling schedules and invoices, right? It really does have a pretty remarkable range of functionality that I'm going to let David tell us about. But I really want to focus today on a little bit less of Procore's esoteric functions and stay more on the day-to-day field operations, which is really kind of where Dave lives here for us. So Dave, why don't you give listeners an overview on what Procore is and where you think it plays best for construction field staff?
So Procore, if you're not familiar with it, basically at the end of the day, it's just a cloud-based construction, software management kind of system. And there are a lot of project management related stuff, as you said, invoicing and change events. However, the field aspect is really I would say the gold standard out there. One of my favorite things was I always love to walk around with an iPad, and instead of having a half set of drawings or even a full size set of drawings walking around, looking at all those details, I was able to track notes live with my superintendent and subcontractors um, without having to go back to the trailer, and that saved a lot of my time. So it really did help the field productivity and also the quality assurance, tremendously.
Okay. And that's a nice thing. I mean, the iPads are definitely a useful way to go. And Procore works right with that. But I think it works with pretty much any kind of mobile device, really, from phones and Androids, and I think you can even do it on like the Surface Pros and the Windows-based stuff, just using the browser.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's real convenient.
Yep.
Everything that you're talking about, from punch items and like you said, you're looking at the plans, marking up the plans, taking photos, all being handled right through that one central system and being fed back into the cloud where everybody can access it. So, so Rocco, let's wake you up a little bit. So, David and I are both certified Procore consultants, right? But we don't really sell the software here at ZenTek, right? I mean, where do we actually integrate most often with our clients on the Procore front?
Yeah, it's really from the consulting angle. The deeper implementations, the training, the consulting services. A lot of times, folks don't. We can help you. Take you from the beginning, from inception through to full setup and deep deployment. But honestly, most folks come to us after they've done an initial implementation with Procore Direct and even done some initial training through their online tutorials. They come to us when they need more advanced setup and more advanced training. So whether it be setting up custom reports or building dashboards or developing specific workflows or even training that's specific to their needs. We offer a handful of generic classes that we run, either public or private, that you can see on our website. But if you're looking for more of an advanced set of training to be set up specifically for your team, that's where we come in.
There you go. There's Rocco's sales pitch for today. He's happy, and now he can go back to sleep on his job.
Okay.
There you go. Good night, Rocco.
Have a good one, Rocco.
See, I got proof. Even Dave knows what he does all day. See, we got 2-on-1 today. You're done. So, all right. Look, I kind of want listeners to walk away from today's show with at least a few ideas in their head on tools and processes in Procore that they may not be using, or at the very least, right, better ways that we've seen people implement those tools and make them, work easier and faster on a daily basis. And I think if we can give folks even, one positive takeaway from today's conversation, I'll call that a win. So Dave, let me ask you this: if you had to pick one Procore tool for field people to use and master that is, it's going to make their life easier, which one would that be and why?
Let me think here. We're going to kind of group these together because they're both very similar. And it's something people already work with on a daily basis, but it's going to be both the drawings and the specifications tool. And kind of the reasoning I'm saying that is, I briefly brought this up when I was explaining Procore. But the best thing about the drawings tool is you can have an offline version of the drawings that are the most up-to-date schedule. So, if you're on maybe several bulletins or in a project that has had a lot of changes, you will always have that updated version on your iPad, your iPhone, your Android, whatever it may be, your computer. And, as you're walking around, you can take notes. You can take photos and attach it to that drawing, whether that be for scheduling reasons. If you need to make a 3-week schedule and, you wanted to remember what a certain area or room was at, verify all the subcontractors' work. My personal out of the drawings tool, I absolutely love when I can click on like an enlarged floor plan or a detail or section, and it will take me to that drawing automatically. So I don't need to be flipping through 20 pages. I might go too far and have to go back. I don't need to be stapling corners of pages and putting void or old pages on that. I did that as an intern, so I know how annoying and time consuming that can be. Plus, you got to print the drawings, and that's a cost as well. So at the end of the day, yeah, between those two, those are my favorite. And the spec's basically the same thing. You just click on a spec and take you right to, the door hardware schedule or, your cast in place concrete spec, whatever it may be. And like I said, verifying those live was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, noting down whatever changes you find in the field, right, that have to be addressed or open for RFI or whatever. Yeah, those are great tools. I like those myself.
Yeah, you always gotta double check your subcontractors, because some of them, I don't know if their measuring tape is wrong or what out there. The plan say it's 10-foot wall, and you got 8-foot ceilings there for some reason. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, that's because their tape manufacturer is eyeball, right? It's eyeball measurements. They're fine. So, oh goodness. So look, the reality is, anytime that we talk about software and tools, right? I think we not only need to look at the most used or the coolest ones like Dave was just talking about, but I think it's also important to focus on the tools that are there that people aren't using enough. Look, it is understandable, right? In a complex construction management system like Procore, there are just going to be features and functions that either we just miss, we don't know they're there, we haven't heard about it, or we may know they're there, but we just have not had the time to learn how to use them effectively, right? Even though they could have really positive impacts on our work, we've just been too busy. So David, let me ask you that then. What do you see as the most underutilized Procore tools that field people should really be looking at?
So I would say the inspections tool. However, I would recommend, the office staff definitely set that up for you. But the inspection tool, and what's the greatest thing about this is most people just think it as, hey, when your city inspector comes out or whoever it may be from, an official standpoint, to get it signed off. I like to use the inspection tool as kind of like basically like it's an inspection, I should say, but like a checklist as well. I like to use the example of pre-pour checklists before you start doing your slab on grade, because ripping up concrete, both expensive and time-consuming,
Yes.
And just annoying to begin with. But you could do this for owner-supplied equipment, and basically you could have a whole list of items, and it could be, like I said, provided from everyone, or again, a specific vendor. And yes, no, maybe, have all those questions on there. And then my favorite thing is the signature portion of it. And you can have a subcontractor sign off on it to ensure, again, if we're using the slab on grade example, you want to make sure all your underground plumbing's in. So you can have the plumbing subcontractor sign off on it to ensure he's got all of his inspections, to ensure he's got all of his underground in. And again, we could put the electrical on there. We could put the concrete guy on there, have all of their signatures. Plus, it also puts them on the line a little bit too. I'm like, hey, did I do this? Did I just double check to make sure you got an inspection? Especially on some of these larger projects, or even some of I've had inspectors that just don't care at the end of the day, city inspectors. And they just come out there, sign off on something, and move on their merry way. And, I really do like to see that we do have more than just his word on it. We have, our plumbing subcontractor we hired or whoever's signature on it.
Yeah.
Again, owner equipment's another good one. When you need all that rough-in information, and if you have a owner vendor come out and look at everything, he can then sign off on it, and you can start getting that process out there.
Yeah, you can track pretty much anything. It is amazing, though, how careful and attentive subs get when they actually have to sign their names to things, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. I tell you what, folks, let's take a quick break here so that, Rocco and I can earn some money from our sponsors so we can pay Dave's paycheck. And when we get back, I want to get Dave to kind of walk us through some of the implementation and setup concerns around working with Procore. All right, so hang in there, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today we are our own sponsor. This is Jim and Rocco with ZenTek Consultants. And what do we want to talk to the folks about today, Rocco?
We're going to talk about how to make barbecue meatballs. How does that sound, Jim?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So we're here to talk about our Procore services. We are Procore certified consultants here. So, Jim, what kind of services do we offer?
So when it comes to your Procore software, we're here to help you guys with just about everything you need, from getting it set up, configuring it to your needs, importing your client database and your previous contracts, structuring reports, or even just helping you guys on the daily with the the workflow and the things that you have to do on a regular basis in terms of timesheets and really just about anything from, like we said, setup and configuration all the way through advanced training for all of your staff on how to use Procore in the method and the way that works best for your firm. So, Rocco, if folks need a little bit of help with Procore, how do they reach us?
Yeah, you can reach us. Hit up our website. We have a new website. It's ZenTekConsultants.net. That's ZenTek Consultants.net. Or give us a call, 866-824-4459. Or drop us an email, sales@ZenTekConsultants.net.
All right, and if you call now, Rocco will tell you how to make meatballs. All right, folks, we'll talk to you later. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast, where we're talking with David Mills, who is a Procore expert extraordinaire here at ZenTek, about the best ways to kind of use Procore in a field-focused workflow. Look, when you deal with software developers and the resellers for systems like Procore, you tend to get a lot of focus on their high-end tools and esoteric capabilities and such, and they tend to drop the ball a little bit on daily use. There's really a pervasive attitude of, people already know how to do that, or, you can just watch one of our how-to videos. For the people who need to handle those basic daily real-world tasks. And that's an area where David actually does a lot of work for us here at ZenTek, helping people kind of structure their daily construction management workflows for efficient work processes. So Dave, if you could give any tips for a company who is, either just getting around to implementing or is using Procore already, right, to make that happen, what would they be?
Yeah, so 2 tips. The first one is going to be start small. Procore and really any software at the end of the day is difficult to learn. I'll just put it straight out there. You're going to have people from all different backgrounds. Some people may be really good at using computers in your office. Other people, not so much. So really, when you're starting to get these processes in place, do a couple of them at a time. Maybe, start all your RFIs on there. Then, move on to your drawings and kind of go from there. However, while you're doing this, and this is kind of part of the second tip here, well, it is the second tip, I should say, is you want to have a good set of standard procedures and steps you want to follow through with. And you want to, from the, management side and, if you're managing superintendents and field staff, this is where you are going to want to kind of keep them in line and make sure they are all having the same processes. And it may be, as an executive or major stakeholder, that you will have to set up these processes without maybe even knowing about them. So you do want to bring in that collaboration from your superintendents to get that standard operating procedure in place. And, an example could be just starting to name files the same way. Filling out daily reports, for example. There are a lot of options available for daily reports that you guys could fill out. Everything from, manpower on the site to deliveries. And maybe for the first, couple months, you don't fill everything out. You just kind of put in the work, daily work hours from your subcontractors and really start expanding from there till you have your staff comfortable with using it. And again, you kind of want to have that across the board. So those are definitely probably the two biggest tips. The third tip is just be patient. Procore,
that one you
they do
definitely
have, the patience is pretty thin in construction to begin with, and especially when people are spending money and they want to see fast turnaround results. You will get your results. It's just not going to be. You're probably not going to expect it as fast as you want it to be at the end of the day, but it's one of the best investments to get yourself a cloud-based construction platform, whether that's Procore, and others. You will get a return on your investment in time saved, and again, quality improvement, workflow improvements, efficient hours worked as well. As opposed to spending 30 minutes doing one simple task. Procore can do 30 tasks in that 1 minute that may have taken you that amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I tell people when I talk to them, like, look at it. You guys are in construction. Think of setting this up like putting in the foundation and the footings for your building. Everything else rests on this. It may take a long time, but it's got to be right. And if that part isn't right, nothing's going to be right. Take the time and get this squared away.
That's a good analogy. I think I'm going to use that from now on.
Hey, look, I did a good thing today. All right, goodbye. I'm going home. I'm done.
That counteracts the joke from earlier.
Okay, good. It's a counterbalance. All right. So look, listeners know I kind of like to be fair when we do the podcast and not always just focus on the positives of a system, right? I mean, I get it. We work a lot with Procore here at ZenTek, but the truth is that Procore, like any technology system, has flaws and shortcomings. And now that doesn't mean that they aren't being worked on, improved with each release, right? Procore does a good job at that. But I kind of want to balance the presentation here and talk a little bit about, both the positive and the negative of the current version of Procore. So, Dave, with that in mind, I guess, what are the negative features or the limitations, I guess, that you see in Procore right now that people should really be aware of?
The thing I absolutely hate is that Procore actually used to have a syncing function. So you could, have there's a documents tool on Procore, and you could have all your documents on Procore for your project sync to your SharePoint or Dropbox or even your local server on your computer. For your company. Mm-hmm. They've got rid of that and kind of put it off to a third party that can manage it. But man, that was such a gold standard for them to have, because you got all these big names out here, like I said, SharePoint and Dropbox, who can sync files automatically between several different devices. Procore, you need to do that as well. Sync it between the online version and sync it between Windows folders on your desktop. It would save just a tremendous amount of time. That is one of the heartbreaks I do have. Is sometimes it can be a little bit annoying to navigate the documents and download files to edit them and check them out and all that.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, it was nice while when they had it, but I think from a business standpoint, I think they divorced themselves from it mainly because it was, a maintenance and administrative hassle for them. It was dealing with problems that were outside the Procore realm. So they're just like, let third-party people handle it. But yeah, it did definitely make it a little tougher for actual process work. I agree 100% on that. So Rocco, from a client contact standpoint, right? What do you hear from them as the biggest benefits and the biggest limits that the clients see working in Procore?
Well, I think one of the in an age where it's so hard to find good qualified employees, one benefit is that Procore is all over, right? I mean, if you're a player in construction, you're pretty much using Procore. So you're going to be able to find people who have at least a little bit of exposure to the product. I think one of the downsides is that it's that I hear a lot is it's expensive.
Yeah,
It's not an
yeah, it
easy,
is.
a low cost solution to deploy by any means. And so, for a small firm, it's hard to even crack that door open and say, hey, let's move to Procore. So that's kind of what I hear and see out there.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I mean, they really are. They're an ERP level structure. They are not meant for small 15, 20 person firms. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
Absolutely the case. So, all right. So I think one thing that is absolutely vital, right, in kind of the we'll call it the complex and iterative world of construction management, it's that your control system can't just work in a vacuum, right? Data needs to flow across multiple firms and countless industries and an infinite number of problems, all of which can be listed or have to be worked with in any number of file formats from different software systems. And that really is a major consideration whenever you're planning and working with any kind of a construction management system, right? That interoperability. So Dave, how does Procore handle working with other software systems, right? Particularly the ones that are likely most in use by field level staff.
So Procore does have an app marketplace, and again, this is not something your typical field person would, you know, get involved with. They'd want to ask, one of their Procore professionals, a part of their team or project management, who may be much more familiar with the back end of Procore. Um, and a lot of the they call it the Procore app marketplace. Has a lot of integrations on there that people use all the time. An example being Bluebeam, Microsoft Teams. When you are setting up meetings between people, you could put in your Microsoft Teams and or Zoom or whatever major uh, conference calling system you guys use, and it really does have that capability to do all that. And if you're not a part of Procore or within construction, and you're just listening to this because you do have other construction apps that you develop, you could look at Procore's API and put your software and integrate it somehow within Procore for anyone listening to our podcast that's not associated with a field use or a project management at a construction company. And you know, Procore also supports, PDFs and Word documents and all that when you put it in there. I had not personally have had the option of using the model viewer in there, but you can view 3D models on Procore using Revit files. So that is something that I have never personally have had my hands on, but I've always wanted to be a part of a project that somebody did put the 3D model on there. And that's very useful for numerous reasons. Yeah.
Hey, we can make that happen for you. We got plenty of Revit models sitting around from our CAD group, so we'll get you one and let you play with it so you can see it.
Oh, nice.
It's actually really cool. So look, when we have guests on, right, even the unfortunate ones that work for us, we like to give them a chance to tell our listeners something that I didn't think to ask them. Though in Dave's case, he is going to have to avoid saying anything mean about me because he works directly for me. But shots at Rocco are always welcome on the cattle call.
That's fair game. Okay.
That's fair game. Yes. So, so what about it, Dave? What else do you think that people listening should know about Procore for fieldwork?
Definitely get your field staff a tablet, whether that be Android or iPad. As far as I'm aware, ZenTek's not sponsored by Apple because they'd be probably paying me a little bit more.
We'd all be making a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, don't because the versions between the Windows version, it's a little bit more sophisticated versus the iPad version. The iPad version, when I was in the field, I taught people, a lot of the foremen who were 70 years and older. I taught them how to use their iPad that their company provided for them, and showed them Procore. I only showed them the basic stuff, but they absolutely loved it. Like I said, the drawings tool. I had one carpentry foreman. every single day he'd walk back and forth to his trailer once an hour. And it was about a 10-minute walk, 5 minutes to the trailer, 5 minutes back to typically where he was working at in the building. And once I showed him how to use the drawings tool on Procore, he was just so happy. I've never seen. I know the guy for a whole month, and I'd never have seen him smile before. And then after that, he kept coming up to me. I'm like, hey, I see you do this. Can I do that too? And obviously, I was a part of the main GC, so I'm like, unfortunately, you can't do that. That's not a part of you're a subcontractor. You can't do daily reports because it's daily reports for me. But it definitely got the conversation going, and it's like, wow, this made my job easier. And I think at the end of the day, everyone wants an easier job. No one wants to work extra hours. And it's just being stress free and everything. So definitely look at it, and don't be afraid to help your other coworkers out who may be struggling with Procore or even other technologies that make their lives easier.
There you go. Good advice. See, technology, when you use it the right way, makes your life easier. Okay. All right, folks. So let's get out of here, and we'll let Dave get back to helping our clients, and Rocco can go back to taking his daily nap, which I think we interrupted here. But Dave, I do want to thank you for. There you go. See, we woke him up again. I just want to say thanks.
I think that was
for
him
being
just reacting. I don't think he woke up yet.
I think he just rolled over and snored. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It could be. Dave, we really appreciate you taking the time to be out here with us today and give us some good info, man. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep. All right, folks, we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast.
All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of ZenTek Consultants. That's Rocco and I. ZenTek Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. ZenTek strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to ZenTek?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentekconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentekconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.